welcome to episode 2 of Eat, Drink, Art, a podcast series where we speak to creative personalities from Malaysia, Asia, and the world. In this episode, I'll be speaking to Dr. Tan Sooi Beng, a renowned Malaysian scholar activist and honorary professor of ethnomusicology at University Science Malaysia. Dr. Tan's work bridges academic research with grassroots cultural activism, focusing on decolonizing music education and preserving Malaysia's diverse performing arts. Dr. Tan is a pioneer in promoting local music in schools and is the creator of Music of Sound workshops. Internationally recognized, she is the president of International Council for Tradition of Music and Dance, and her award-winning research has shaped the understanding of Malaysia's musical heritage. Through community theatre, new compositions, and revitalizing art forms like potehi, Dr. Tan inspires youth to embrace Malaysian identity through the arts. So, without ado, let's speak to Dr. Tan. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time. I'm super excited to talk to you. And also, congratulations on receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award. You're also the recipient for the Bo Cameronian Award, Lifetime Achievement Award. So, congratulations, Doctor. How do you feel receiving this award?
I think I'm very honored, yeah, to get this award and to get this recognition because I have spent 3 decades of my life working, yeah, with young people on the arts, yeah, and so this recognition will help me to continue the legacy and to continue my work, yeah.
Wonderful. Speaking about the arts, right, Doctor, you are also known as a scholar, activist, and
Mm.
also an academic. And also, if I'm not mistaken, you're also dabbling in music as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm basically a musician.
Yes.
So I'm an ethnomusicologist. So I study non-Western music,
See.
mainly traditional musics of different parts of the world. But my specialty is on Southeast Asia.
Wonderful. Is there any specific music instrument that you enjoy playing, Doctor?
I play a lot of instruments because in traditional music, we need to learn the instruments in particular ensembles, right?
Yes.
Because we don't really play solo. Yeah, we always play as a group. Yeah, so I have learned like musical how to play in the traditional wayang kulit, how to play music in Chinese orchestra, the Chinese puppet theater. I learned gamelan. Yeah, and so I've dabbled in many instruments because in order to teach, I need to know the basics. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Wow, it's amazing that you found interest in not just one specific type of musical instrument, but a diverse range of musical instruments.
Mm.
I'm really curious, right, Doctor? You mentioned that you've been in the arts and culture ecosystem for about 3 decades already, 30 over years.
Yeah.
Could you share with me how did you first get into the arts and culture ecosystem? How old were you when you first started out this journey?
Yeah, I think when I was very young, I used to go and watch, Chinese opera and Chinese puppet theater with my grandparents. Yeah,
Right.
and this sounds like stayed on with me, even after I moved away from my grandparents' place and moved into a housing estate. So, and then I went to a convent school, Carmelite Street in Penang. And in this school, I became very westernized. Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, I learned English and English dancing and poetry and all that with the dance. And my cousin gave me piano lessons.
I
Yeah.
see.
So when I was 8 years old, I started playing the piano, and I began to excel in it. So I wanted to become a pianist. yeah, so when I went to study overseas, uh, in after I finished my form 5, I got a scholarship to study in Cornell University. So I went to study piano, but after like a year of practicing in the basement uh, practice rooms by myself, I really felt lonely. So I began to join the gamelan group.
I
Uh,
see.
yeah.
And this dominant group, they were based in Penang, which is your hometown. Is that correct, Doctor?
No. So this gamelan group was based in America.
Oh, I see.
In American liberal arts colleges, they allow you to take courses from um, different faculties and different types of courses. So even though I was a piano major, I was able to take courses from other areas. So the gamelan was one course that was offered by the music department. So they had traditional musicians from Indonesia in residence, and so
Mm,
these musicians were teaching gamelan to the students. So I found my community, playing the gamelan. I really enjoyed, performing as a group rather than as a single person. So from then on, I decided, okay, I'm going to study traditional music, and that's how I got into ethnomusicology. And for my master's, I went to Wesleyan University, which excelled in world music. So they had traditional musicians from Japan, China, India, Africa, Indonesia, and other parts of the world in residence. So there were many courses being offered about musics of the world. And so I began to take all these courses and learn how to play the instruments. And I've, found out about, okay, the functions played by uh, traditional musicians and traditional music, they have many functions. They not just entertain, right? They could
yes,
be performed for rituals, they could be performed for communication, they could actually be performed to protest against something that they didn't like. Um,
yes.
and so that really inspired me to go back to Malaysia and try to learn about my own cultures. Yeah, I at that point in life, I really did not know very much about Chinese culture, Malay culture, or any other cultures in Malaysia. Because I was like so westernized. So I began to study for my masters the Chinese festival and Chinese opera. Got to mix with the Chinese speaking uh, communities in Malaysia. Yeah, because I was like so anglicized. Yeah, and so and then after that, I began to, after I finished, I came back to Malaysia to work in USM for a few years before I continued with my PhD. So during that time, I learned, the Malay forms that were being taught at USM at that
Mm,
time. So I learned, wayang kulit, gamelan from the traditional performers. So at that time, the traditional performers were brought in from Kelantan and Terengganu to teach the students. So I also, joined in some of these classes. So that's how I began to learn more about, Malay culture. Yeah.
mm, mm.
Yeah, and then for my PhD, I decided to study bangsawan theatre, which is like my specialty lah. Yeah, yeah.
So fascinating. I mean, it's amazing that you found the love for gamelan of all places in the US. This is really
Yeah.
but it's wonderful to see, Doctor, that you took an interest in all the other respective traditional forms of
Mm,
music as well. And
yes.
would you say that that was that point in moment in your time when you decided to be a scholar activist as well, or maybe this was something that you eventually found out later on to be a scholar activist?
Yeah, I wanted, of course, to be a scholar first, right? And when you are doing your masters, you have to like really learn the methodologies that are being taught in the university and apply them in the writing of your thesis. Yeah, but when I came back to do research, I discovered that actually there were a lot of challenges faced by musicians and ordinary people, working in the arts. So I felt that it was important for me to give back because I was so lucky, to be able to go and study overseas and to learn all these different types of traditional musics and be exposed to the world of music. Yeah, and I really wanted to give back to society. So when I came back, I discovered that actually the music that was being taught in the schools and in the university was very Western based. Yeah, and,
Yes.
yeah, and students were just like learning how to write notation, or in schools they were playing recorder and just singing songs, right? And but if you are rich and your parents can afford to buy expensive instruments, you can go and you can go and study the piano or violin with a teacher, but you have to pay exorbitant fees, yeah, for that. So not everybody, you know can afford to do that. So I felt it was very important to make music accessible and
Mm,
also inclusive. Yeah. So I tried to do that in with my university students first of all. So I included different types of music, world music in their courses. Uh, but I felt that they needed to play something, in order to express themselves. So
mm,
yeah, develop what is called music of sound that I
yes.
quite famous for now. Yeah. So this music of sound is a twist on the word sound of music. Yeah. So in Malay, it's music bunyi bunyian. So I got the students to go out to the field, different areas, collect materials that they can make instruments out of. Yeah. They collected songs from the communities. They collected conversations. Yeah. And
Mm,
for the first time, I asked them to, you close your eyes, and as you walk through the streets in the city in Georgetown, and you can hear the soundscapes. It's like so mixed, right? Um,
yes.
and they never listen to all these sounds. They just like stop and whatever. And so it's like they began to listen to this, and then they remembered these sounds and they actually recorded them and then came back. And then they put, these sounds together based on the interviews with the communities, and they created like little sketches. So
Wow.
it was quite successful at that time because for the first time people could make music out of everyday objects, or they can make music just by singing or by beating parts of their body. Yeah. So and the students that I had at that time were theater students, so they have had no experience playing expensive instruments as well. Yeah, so we took these pieces to the schools in Penang, and they were very well accepted. Yeah, so after that, I began to bring this out to school children outside of the university, and my students helped to facilitate these projects. Yeah, so that's how Music of Sound grew. Yeah, uh,
Wow. It grew basically organically just by itself through word of mouth.
yes, correct. Yeah, and we I think in the 1990s, because a lot of children were moved out of the cities as their parents could not afford to pay high rentals, right? Because of the
Yes.
repeal of the Rental Act, they lost a sense of place. Uh,
Mm,
Identity, because they moved out to the housing estates, yeah, and like there was like really no community there. They couldn't hear the sounds that that they were familiar with in the past. Yeah. And
Right.
so with some other facilitators in Penang, like Janet Pillay who was in charge of arts ed, and also my colleague Aida Reza, who was
Yes.
a dancer. We collaborated in many projects, yeah, but I would do the music, and Aida would do the dance, and Janet would do the theater. But music
Right.
was one way to enter these projects. Mm.
Just out of curiosity, Doctor, because you mentioned, you created this project, Music of Sound. Um, and of course, it involved a lot of young people as well.
Mm.
I'm just wondering, in terms of impact, did you what was the feedback? What was the feedback like from parents and even the those involved? How did this project shape their worldview and also their life as well?
Yeah, I think some of them, or many of them, already are already adults, right? Some of them are,
Mm,
yeah, professional dancers, professional musicians, graphic artists, and so on. And they said that this project helped them to relate the arts to life.
mm,
If they had just performed ballet in the studio, they would never have been exposed to life outside of the studio, right? Uh,
mm,
yeah, and so in the methodology, we make them go out and collect sounds, collect movements, uh,
mhm.
like they would observe the theta rate dance, making theta rate, the
Right.
movement like, and they will imitate that in their own pieces. So they listen to conversations in different languages, right? Because the soundscape in Penang, especially in Georgetown, as you
Very
walk
diverse.
there, Tamil, Hokkien, Malay, Cantonese, all kinds of languages. So, uh, yeah, they came back and they mixed these languages in their plays. Uh,
Mm,
they also interviewed the communities about stories in the past, like what happened in Penang, how did people interact,
mm.
what kinds of trades that were they involved in, and then they created stories, yeah, with music and movement, yeah.
Oh, Doctor, you've worked really hard. It sounds like decolonizing music is very important to you. Uh, I'm just curious, what were some of the challenges that you faced, especially when it comes to, especially when it comes to decolonizing music education in Malaysia?
Mm. I think, as I said earlier, in the schools, the children they play recorder and they play, you know, um, they sing. Yeah, they sing
Yes.
songs, right? But when I came back in the 1990s, after I finished my PhD, I became one of the advisors for the Education Ministry of Education Curriculum Development Center. They were trying to revamp the secondary school program.
Mm,
So I helped them to set up like schools, set up programs that taught traditional music in selected schools. So today they have some of these programs like where they teach gamelan, kulintang, and kompang in the schools, as well as world music for theory, and the students can take that for the SPM diploma. Yeah,
see.
I think at the primary school level, it is has not moved much. That's because they only have 1 hour or so a week, to teach music. So it's very hard for the teachers to do anything, and the teachers don't have the experience. But I started running workshops of music of sound for teachers in the teacher training colleges.
Mm.
Yeah, a few years ago, with the help of some of my students former students who have become lecturers there. So they invited me to run workshops for the students who were training to become primary school teachers. And some of these students also join our projects in the city. So now they have gone out to the schools to teach, and I'm very happy that they have. They told me that they have actually incorporated music of sound into the syllabus, because
Oh,
there's
wonderful.
something called percussion, body percussion. Yeah.
Ah, I see.
So they have included that in. And also now in the institutes of teacher training colleges, right? There is in the curriculum, there is a section on music or sound. Yeah.
I see.
So it will go to the schools, and I'm quite happy about that. Yeah.
Oh, do you have a creative business that you would like more people to know about? At Eccentrica, we have over 30,000 monthly readers who are super curious to know about what you do. Whether you're running an arts and crafts business or whether you're running workshops or events, you actually belong here. So if you're interested, drop us a line at editors@eccentrica.com. I repeat, editors@eccentrica.com. Let's make it happen.
Hi, I'm Suling. My journey started with a simple feeling, a deep love for my hometown Penang. I began turning the patterns of Peranakan tiles into wearable art. Every single piece of jewelry is designed and handcrafted by me, carrying the spirit of Penang in its tiny details. The making process is very tedious and time-consuming, but my passion kept me going. I was humble and honestly a little shocked when this passion project started getting noticed by local media. It showed me how much these stories of art and history resonate with everyone. I started hosting small workshops, connecting with a wonderful community who were fascinated by our local culture. Each pair isn't just an accessory, it's a piece of history and a tribute to the beautiful city of Penang. Now, everyone can carry the memories of Penang with them.
I'm so glad you mentioned, like teaching music, doctor, because a lot of our readers are also academicians. We get a lot of readers, students, academicians, also, of course, artists and activists as well.
Mm.
One thing, because I have a 9-year-old daughter. She has music class in her public government school, and
Mm.
so when I ask her how is your class, how's your music class, then she says, oh, it's boring. We're always playing the recorder all the time. So
Yeah.
I think this is a question that for any teacher who is listening to our conversation, this recording, you know, what is your tip or advice you can give to a teacher who wants to improve music education in school?
I think the methodology of music of sound is can make music more accessible, and it is also fun. So when you listen, close your eyes and listen to the sounds around the school, you can start with that. You don't even need to go out, right? You can hear
Mm,
like, all kinds of environmental sounds that you don't usually listen to. Yeah. And you can use that to make short uh, musical pieces. And I think
mm,
kids enjoy making their own music with like pots and pans and pencils and whatever they can find,
yeah.
right? And in the environment, plastic bags can be birds and so on. So it's like very creative for them. And this methodology we have already uploaded, in YouTube, some of the
Oh,
methods. Yeah, so I think school teachers have no problem looking at that. Yeah.
so basically, they just need to search for music of sound and they will be able to find the videos.
Correct, correct. Yes,
Ah,
correct.
okay, okay. I think what we will do is we will try to find some of those videos and we will link it into this video as well for
Mm,
this interview video.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I gave you one for in the profile. There is a
Ah, yes.
yeah, that's a very good clip. Yeah. So
Okay,
that
perfect. We will
includes
add
like
that as well.
things that students can play at the beginning, and it has clips on how we teach children to use their voice, to use everyday objects, to learn the elements of music. Like
Right.
you play, what is rhythm, or what is melody, or what is pitch, what is high and low pitch, that kind of thing. So you don't need to know how to write notation on the stave, right? But
Yes.
you just need to listen. Yeah, and you can make different timbres. You can produce different timbres on the not instruments, the objects,
Mm.
whipping or by knocking or what. See, so all this is in the video that in the video clip that I include
Okay.
in the profile. Yeah,
Wonderful. I will take a look. I will also share the link as well
yeah,
under the description.
yeah.
Uh, I'm looking forward to trying the musical sound in my daughter. So I expect to see that the house getting loud and noisy. So it's good.
So they wouldn't like to play, so we always begin with like games for them to get to know each
Yeah.
other, and then they become very comfortable with one another, and then
Yes.
and then we begin with this making noise. But anyway, music.
No, doctor, your work, because you are diverse, right? You took an interest in gamelan and also all other various different music.
Mm,
And although a lot of these instruments were not part of your ancestry, because of course your Chinese, your ancestry is from your Chinese, but despite that, you still took an interest in the Malay music form.
mm,
How do you navigate cultural sensitivity, and also creativity when you try to blend elements from various other
mm.
cultures and traditions?
Mm. I think now there is this. I think young musicians are trying out fusion music. Where
Yes,
they combine this and that, right? But um, if one does not know the basic elements in the particular tradition, I think it's very hard for you to mix sensitively.
I see. When you say basic element, what do you mean by that, Doctor?
So
Could you
if
elaborate?
you don't know, like, okay, what makes the rhythm, or what makes the melody, or
Mm,
what is the singing style, uh, and for like puppetry, for example, if you don't know how to manipulate the puppets, or the roles of each of the puppets, then it is very hard for you to make changes.
mm,
So for me, I learn uh, the different forms so that I know what they are, right? And then I
mm,
can teach. So in Potehi, for example, if I don't know the manipulation or the different role types of the characters, and I simply create something, then it is not Potehi or puppet theatre. It is just puppet theatre, right? Because for it to be puppet theatre, you need to be able to manipulate the puppets in the correct way, uh, and each role type. Say if you play the woman's role or the man's role, the old man's role, they each have a certain way of speaking,
I
uh,
see.
and they introduce themselves, in a special way. So one has to know that in order to make changes. So for Potehi, when we introduce like characters like Ania, who is a Nyonya lady, yeah, she sings in the Baba Malay language. Yeah, she wears the baju panjang, uh, but her movements are are similar to the movements in puppet theater. So that when you look at her and she's moving, you know that she is a character in the puppet theater. Yeah.
Right.
And also music has different functions, right?
Yes.
So if it is a certain person is walking out the stage, then you have certain percussion music. If a person is singing something, then there's a particular song that accompanies this person. Yeah. So we need to know all that. You see, so when we make changes for the puppet theatre, for example, for Anya, she can sing Dondang Sayang or some Malay folk tune, but the way she does it and the content uh, has to be from uh, Potehi.
See. Speaking of Potehi, right, Doctor, you've played a very important role in revitalizing Potehi. Potehi is, of course, a puppet art form which
Mm,
is unfortunately going through a decline in Malaysia.
yes.
Um, I'm just curious because you one of your efforts was to introduce Potehi to Malaysians and of course the younger generation. What were some unexpected lessons or surprises that you experienced
Mm.
when working with the younger generation, especially when it comes to Potehi?
Yeah, the Potehi is a dying form. Yeah, it's only now performed in the temples for temple.
Mm,
So there are no audiences, nobody's watching, and there's nobody learning the form. A younger person learning the form. So when I tried to start the form, people are telling me, "Oh, this is very difficult because people are not interested in the form." But actually, when I got this group of young people to learn from the traditional masters, they found this puppet manipulation very exciting. Making the puppets move, fighting, and all that. You see, and for that they did not need any language, right? so
yes.
so yeah, so when in our shows we have a lot of, we introduce like tricks and a lot of movements, that don't need language. But when there's a conversation or dialogue, then we make them speak in the local Penang Hokkien or
Mm,
local Malay dialect, some Tamil, the soundscapes that you hear in the city.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So the I think the young people, once they see that the form can be changed and it can be modernized, it can be localized, then it gets them excited. Mm. So that's why this group has lasted for 10 years already.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Doctor, you mentioned earlier in our chat, you learned all of this art form, the music, and also, of course, the pottery as well. How difficult was it to find the masters and learn from them? Did you like learn from directly from the masters, or did you have to find like the student or something and then learn from the student? How did that process go for you?
I think during my time, many of these old masters were still alive, and
Mm,
it was quite easy for me to access them. But it is like when they are performing, we have to go to the stage. Otherwise,
mm,
they will not have time to talk to us, or yeah, and we have to follow them around. If they're performing here, we follow them there. When they travel, then we follow them. So if we show an interest, in learning the form, then they are quite willing to teach us. Hmm.
lovely.
Yeah, because I think they feel that they want the younger generation to learn the traditions, right? And when I was doing my master's and PhD at that time, young people were just not interested in the form. Yeah,
Mm,
and in the schools, it's not being taught. I mean, there might be some universities who have courses in traditional theatre and music, but most of the universities teach Western classical music instead. Mm.
Right. Now, Doctor, you've also collaborated with artists, like throughout your journey from across various disciplines, right? You've worked with theater practitioners, you've worked with script writers, you've worked with a whole host of artistic people. In your opinion, right? How important is it collaboration, especially cross cultural collaboration, especially when it comes to shaping the Malaysian arts and culture ecosystem?
Mm. Yeah, because I think as a musician, my specialty is music, right? So I know a lot about music. But if I want to do a mixed media theatrical form, I will need to collaborate with dancers, with script writers. I need to collaborate with set makers,
Mm,
designers, so that the form is becomes holistic. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just again, it's just rojak lah. But for me, it's very important to know the form and to use the form, the traditional form, so that we can make sensible changes, yeah, to the form, or to localize the form. So I have this group of friends in Penang, and we call ourselves Ombak Ombak.
okay, yes.
Yeah, we're trying to make waves by making cross cultural shows, and we try to break boundaries. I think that is very important. Yeah. So we break all kinds of boundaries. Like space, we don't just perform in the concert hall. We go out to the communities. We
Mm,
perform near river sites if the story is about the river, or we go to a certain street if we want to tell the story or history of the street. Yeah, so these are site specific shows. We also break boundaries in terms of performers. So the performers do not need to be trained actors or musicians, right? We work with everybody. We work with anyone who is interested, because we feel that anyone is able to make music or to move, yeah, if they are given the opportunity. Yeah. So we also cut across time frame. Yeah, we look at history. We interview people about local history, so that the histories that we get are actually narratives and experiences from the communities themselves, and not just from the history books. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, we cut across performers. We work with different ethnic groups. Yeah, so I think the way forward is to do this, to to cross boundaries. Yeah, to cross
it,
boundaries, and that's the way, I think we can begin to create something that is Malaysian. Yeah,
mm.
yeah,
So it's
by
like a cross-cultural, artistic, disciplinary collaboration, basically.
yes, correct. But we must, I must stress that we must know the tradition before we can start changing them. Mhm.
Yes. And looking ahead, right, Doctor, what are some cultural trends that you're already observing that is taking place? And what do you expect the future to be in terms of these trends happening?
Um, I think people are beginning to cross boundaries. I'm like so glad to see many shows that makes media, and also the use of technology is now increasingly important.
Mm,
Yeah, so I think this is a trend that we have to follow if we want to get audiences in the future. Yeah, so like wayang kulit, you could use technology to create shadows, you can,
Mm,
yeah. But for me, it is still important to tell stories from the communities themselves. Yeah, the form
yes.
can change, but the people have a lot of experiences and a lot of stories to tell.
So
Mm.
this brings me to my last two questions, Doctor. We're coming to the tail end of our interview already. What do you hope your legacy in the arts will be?
Mm, yeah, I think it is important to make music accessible and also inclusive. So I think that there are many ways of doing it. Music of sound is one way. Localizing theatre traditions is another way. As an academic, I give tools to my students, and they use these tools to create their own mixed media culture. Yeah, so that's what I teach them. I don't teach them to do, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. No, it's up to them what they want to do with the tools that they get from the classes.
Wonderful. One final question, Doctor. What advice would you give to young artists, educators, researchers, who wish to use the arts as a tool to change their lives and also, of course, the world around them? What
Mm.
advice do you have for them?
It's important to learn from the communities. Yeah, this is what I have been pushing for all this while. Yeah, I think the older people have a lot of stories to tell us. Sometimes they don't even uh, let us know what some of these stories are because they are like very sad, especially about the Second World War, Japanese occupation,
Mm,
what happened to their families and all that. They keep these stories to themselves. But when young people go and interview them, they will begin to tell these stories. So it's important to get these stories before these people pass away. Yeah. So I think in my case, I was very lucky when I was doing my Bangsawan theatre. The veteran performers were still alive, although they were like
mm,
70s and 80s. And I interviewed them about their lives and how they traveled from one island to another island in the Malay archipelago in the past to perform, how they interacted with multi ethnic people, in the islands, how they learned stories, they adapted stories from the people. They intermarried with one another and mixed with each other all the time. So you can see this in the product itself, in the bangsawan of the early days, because it was very, very mixed. Yeah. So these stories that I learned from them changed my whole outlook towards theater and music. And so I, learned how to be inclusive and how to make music accessible to ordinary people. Yeah. Through the Bangsawan performance. I'm so grateful for this, and I think that future students and researchers should go back and interview these people with experience. Yeah, there's
yes.
much to learn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time. Thank you very, very much for this interview. It was such a wonderful chat with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna stop the recording, Doctor. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Eat, Drink, Art. If you have any personalities in mind that you feel that we should speak to, please do reach out to us at editors@eccentrica.com. Also, if you are a brand and arts and culture brand that wants to collaborate with us, you can also reach us out at the same email as well. You can also find us across all of our socials at Eccentrica. And if you're curious and you want to learn more about the kinds of articles we write, you can actually check us out at our website at eccentrica.com. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and I'm super happy and excited that we have started this Eat, Drink, Art series. So let us know what you think in the comments below. Do like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends and your loved ones.